Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I have a very special video for you guys. Yesterday I was able to reach leaderboards with this Hisuian Cup team. It is a very strong team, and today I am going to show you guys how to use it, how it plays, and if it's any good or not. It is actually very strong. So yesterday I played 13 games with this team, and out of the 13 games I played, I won 12. So that's a really good win rate, and I really hope that this team is going to work for you guys. The team is going to be Frostlass on the lead with double fighters at the back. The two fighters are going to be Lucario and Toxicroak. Toxicroak is just extremely strong in the current meta. The two fighters are going to be able to cover Frostlass's weaknesses, especially Bastiodon, and then Frostlass should be able to cover the fighter's weaknesses like Cresselia, and it is pretty good against Gastrodon. The team doesn't really have a safe swap. Based on what you see in the lead, you can pick which fighter to swap in. If you swap into Lucario, usually Lucario is going to draw out a Toxicroak, so be warned about that. I did play the team again today, and I saw a lot of Gastrodon and Toxicroak backlines, which will beat this team. So if you try this team and the Lucario doesn't work out, you can swap the Lucario out for Gastrodon. I saw a lot of people using it. It's a very effective lineup as well, so you can go ahead and give that a try. I should say that the goal for my videos isn't just to show you guys a team that I went on a crazy climb with. It's also to find teams that are going to work for you guys and help you guys climb as well. And I am going to make recommendations here and there where we can make changes to make the team work even better and based on the current meta that I am seeing. But at the moment, this team is super strong. But that's enough on that. Let's get into these battles. Up first, we're going to see a terrible lead of Magnezone into our Frostlass, and I swap into my Toxicroak. My opponent has a Gallade in the back. The confusions absolutely melt my Toxicroak, and at least I'm able to land a Mud Bomb on the Gallade. It's not enough to take it out, but it puts them in the red, and I'm able to farm the Gallade down with my Frostlass and have a ton of energy for the Magnezone that's going to come back in. I'm going to go ahead and bait with an Avalanche because I'm expecting them to shield, and then I'm going to swap back into my Lucario, and my opponent is going to go ahead and throw the Wild Charge here and then swap out to clear the debuff, and they bring in a Tangrowth. This is so good for me. Lucario is going to be resisting all of this thing's moves. Rock Slide and Power Whip are going to be resisted. I didn't have to shield there, but I shielded anyways. I know I'm going to be able to counter the Magnezone down before it can reach a move, so we're able to take that win. GG's to our opponent. I should say in this first set, for the first few games, I was running my old team that I showed you guys in yesterday's video. So those first two games, I lost with that team. So moving on to the next battle, you guys, I want you to count how many Gastrodon leads we are going to see. This is our first one, and of course, I'm going to have to take this Gastrodon out with Frostlass, and now, my opponent could go for an Earth Power here, but I'm going to go ahead and call a bait. I'll be able to throw another Avalanche before my opponent can throw another move on my Frostlass. They go ahead and they shield, which is really good for me. Now, I'm going to let my Frostlass go here, but my opponent doesn't quite take me out with the Body Slam. They bring Munchlax in, however, and I'm going to bring Lucario in just in case my opponent has a Toxicroak in the back. I was seeing a lot of Toxicroaks in the back, so I bring Lucario in against this. I go ahead and I shield in case the move was a Bulldoze. Bulldoze will be super effective against Lucario's Steel typing, and my opponent has a Staraptor in the back. At least I was able to get some energy from that Munchlax. They go ahead and they throw a Fly here, and I'm going to shield just because I know I can reach that Blaze Kick before my opponent can reach another move. Now they go for a catch, but they don't quite get the timing right, so I'm going to be able to take that win. I had a move on Lucario, and my opponent wasn't going to be able to reach another Fly on Staraptor, but I really appreciate the spice there. I really want to try Staraptor in this cup. I think it could be good. On to the next match. Oh look, another Gastrodon lead. I'm going to play this exactly how I played it in the last game. However, I am going to throw the Avalanche at really bad timing. I don't know why I did that. I guess I miscounted, but oh well. I let my opponent sneak an entire Mud Slap in. At least I call the bait. It is a Body Slam, and we're at least able to take the Gastrodon out. That bad timing didn't really punish us too badly. Now my opponent brings in an Abomasnow, and Abomasnow is not going to be a problem for my backline. However, I swap immediately into Toxicroak just in case my opponent has another answer to fighters in the back. Toxicroak draws out the Cresselia. At least we're able to take a shield from them with the Shadow Ball. I bring Frostlass back in here, and I just decide to let the Grass Knot go and let Frostlass go, and I'm just hoping that Lucario is going to be able to take this game for me. I'm going to go ahead and double shield Lucario up against his Cresselia. Now here I should have baited. It was pretty obvious that my opponent was going to shield. Their last Pokemon isn't going to be doing too well against Lucario, so I don't bait. We're able to take their final shield, and I don't know what happens here, but my opponent goes ahead and throws a Grass Knot, and this is going to be the reason I'm going to win. If they had committed to the Moonblast, they would have been able to take me out. But this gives me an opportunity to farm up enough energy to almost have 2 Blaze Kicks. One is enough to take the Cresselia out, and then we're able to reach another one on the Abomasnow and take that game. Moving on to the next match, can you guess the lead? It is going to be another Gastrodon. I actually cannot believe how many Gastrodon leads we are seeing, but this time, instead of staying in, they go ahead and they swap into their Shadow Abomasnow. I am going to bring Lucario in against this because Lucario is going to be resisting everything from this Abomasnow. I should be able to farm it down completely and have so much energy for the Gastrodon if my opponent chooses to bring it back in. I'm going to go immediately for that Shadow Ball, and we take their first shield from them. Now I can bring my Frostlass in against this Gastrodon. Again, I still have so much energy left on my Frostlass, and here I decide to shield because I felt like my opponent was going to go ahead and go for an Earth Power, and my opponent has a Bastiodon in the back. So they tried to draw out the fighter with the Abomasnow, but I am running 2 fighters, and I am easily going to be able to take that win. GG's to our opponent. Moving on to the next match, we are going to see a Frostlass on the lead, and this is where I start thinking maybe I should be running Crunch on my Frostlass so that I could win the Frostlass mirror match because my backline is actually quite weak to Frostlass. Now I built up to the Shadow Ball and I threw the Avalanche. I was able to get a shield out of my opponent, and then I thought my opponent would try to bait in return, but they are running Crunch and they end up landing the Crunch on our Frostlass. Now I mess up here big time. Instead of going for the Shadow Ball, I throw an Avalanche on the Frostlass and I give them an opportunity to completely farm my Frostlass down. They have so much energy on that thing now that I can't invest any shields into my Lucario, so I have to let the Surf go. I bring Toxicroak in, and I just hope that Toxicroak can do enough to take the Frostlass out and take whatever they have in the back. But I think I am going to lose this. They have 2 Avalanches here, and they should be able to reach another Avalanche as well. And they were able to take both our shields. They have a Toxicroak in the back, so of course I am not going to be able to win this anymore. So again, my biggest mistake was allowing their Frostlass to get this insanely unmanageable energy advantage. I should have gone for the Shadow Ball. At least I would have been able to take their final shield. Or I think my opponent might have tried to catch the Shadow Ball on their Bibarel in the back actually. But they wouldn't have had that much energy on their Frostlass. Now moving on to the next match, we see a lead that's not that great for Frostlass. It is going to be Empoleon. I swap into Toxicroak and we draw out a Gliscor. Now they're running Night Slash. I was able to live that, and I go for a Shadow Ball, and my opponent actually lets the Shadow Ball go. I'm able to counter the Gliscor down, and I was able to win that switch. Really surprising. But my opponent is going to have a Frostlass in the back. They farm our Toxicroak down. I'm gonna let the first move go, calling an Avalanche. They went for that bait, and now I'm going to go immediately for a Shadow Ball. I was hoping that my opponent would also try to call a bait, but they don't. I decide to shield here because I have Lucario left, and also the Avalanche would have been enough to take my Frostlass out. At least I'm going to be able to get their final shield out of the way, and then Lucario should be able to sweep what my opponent has left. I'm going to go for a Blaze Kick on the Frostlass. We CMP tie there, it looked like. I'm able to take the Frostlass out, and then I'm going to go for a Shadow Ball on the Empoleon. I could have gone for a Blaze Kick there. Shadow Ball is just overkill, but we are able to take that win. GG's to our opponent. Now, if my opponent had shielded the Shadow Ball on Gliscor, it would have been a completely different story. But that gives us a 4-1 in that set. Let's move on to the next set. Alrighty, first game. Can you guess the lead? It is going to be another Gastrodon. Very interesting lead, and my opponent is going to swap into an Empoleon. I bring Lucario in. Again, I'm expecting my opponent to have a Toxicroak in the back. As long as I'm not seeing the Toxicroak, I'm always going to swap Lucario into the Steel type. So I bring Lucario in. My opponent brings Gastrodon back in. I do one counter and then I throw the Shadow Ball. I'm not going to be able to reach another move, but they're able to take us out, and then I bring Frostlass in against this. Now I let whatever this is go. It is a Body Slam. They don't go for the Earth Power, and they have a Bastiodon in the back. I'm easily going to be able to take that win. GG's to our opponent. Oh, and I forgot to mention that for this set, I do change the Shadow Ball on Frostlass to Crunch. So we are going to be running it with Crunch now, but for some reason, we're going to see some leads that actually we could have used Shadow Ball for. Going to see that Cresselia lead, and my opponent swaps into an Empoleon. Again, I'm going to bring my Lucario in, counter the Empoleon down, and then my opponent should bring the Cresselia back in. This is actually so good. I have so much energy built up on this Lucario, and I'm going to go straight for that Shadow Ball, take a shield from my opponent, and they are not going to be able to farm us down, so they have to go for that Grass Knot. Otherwise, I would have been able to reach another Shadow Ball, and my opponent brings in a Bastiodon against her Frostlass. I still have a Toxicroak in the back. We are facing another team that is going to be double weak in the back to fighters. I'm going to let whatever this is go here because I hope that my Frostlass is going to be able to win the match against Cresselia. Gonna go for a Shadow Ball on this Cresselia, and they let it go. Now my opponent is definitely not going to be able to win this game. They go ahead and they quit here. GG's to our opponent. On to the next game, another Gastrodon lead. Are we surprised at this point? Again, going to stay in and play this out how I've been playing it, but my opponent swaps into a Lucario. I'm going to bring my Toxicroak in against this immediately. I let the Blaze Kick go. It's not enough to take us out. I was able to farm the Lucario down completely with my Toxicroak and have some energy for the Gastrodon. I go for that Shadow Ball. We're able to take out most of their health with it, and then I'm going to bring my Frostlass back in, go for an Avalanche before the Gastrodon can throw a move on our Frostlass, and my opponent has an Abomasnow in the back. I still had my Lucario. GG's to our opponent, and so sorry, that was Hard Counter City. Now moving on to the next match, we are going to see a Wormadam on the lead. Now this is an interesting lead, but it is very tricky for me. I kind of have to stay in this because my Toxicroak can absolutely not see this thing. It will melt it with the confusions. So I'm going to go for crunches. My opponent did go ahead and shield the first crunch, which is actually pretty good for us. I'm going to go ahead and shield the Iron Heads. They are going to be super effective. I go for another crunch. The first crunch, by the way, that we threw did debuff the Wormadam. I don't think I would have been able to take this lead if I didn't get that first debuff. I'm able to take the Wormadam out with the third crunch, and then my opponent brings in an Empoleon. I don't let them farm my Frostlass down. I bring my Toxicroak in immediately, and we're able to draw out their own Toxicroak. At least we were able to take their final shield with the Mud Bomb, and my Lucario is going to be aligned to their Penguin. Now I can bring Frostlass back in here because I know I can reach an Avalanche before my opponent can reach a move on Toxicroak. Gonna go for that Avalanche. It should KO, and then I bring my Lucario in against the Penguin. We're able to take the Penguin out and take that win. GG's to our opponent. Speaking of the Penguin, on the lead in the next match, we are going to see Empoleon himself. I'm going to have to swap into my Toxicroak, and we managed to draw out a Gastrodon. Hopefully this is their only fighter, like the fighters that are weak to ground answer in the back. Although I am expecting them to have a Toxicroak in the back as well, I'm going to be able to bring Frostlass in now against this Gastrodon, and they go for a Water Pulse. I shield it. Water Pulse doesn't do that much damage, so I'm going to go ahead and let this Water Pulse go, and I'm going to attempt to farm the Gastrodon down completely. But I guess this makes my opponent nervous, and they try to snipe me with their Bastiodon. One smackdown is not quite enough to take my Frostlass out. I'm able to swap into my Lucario, take the Bastiodon out, and then it's going to be my Lucario up against their Empoleon. We should be able to take this win very easily. I'm just going to go for a full counter down. We're able to take their Empoleon out and take that win. GG's to our opponent. And And we are going to end this video off with a very nice 5-0 with this team. Again, I highly recommend this team if you want to use it. Go for it. If the team doesn't work out that well for you guys, I would recommend swapping the Lucario out for Gastrodon. As you've seen, Gastrodon is extremely strong in this cup. But thank you so much for watching. That brings us to the end of our video. If you guys enjoy my videos, please consider subscribing. Maybe leave a like. It helps me out so much. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye!